A huge win for Porsha Williams of Real Housewives of Atlanta fame. So yesterday was the Zoom court appearance between Porsha and her estranged husband, Simon Gubadia, who was recently deported back to his native Nigeria. Now, Porsha sued to enforce the prenup of their marriage. Gubadia opposed the prenup, citing that Porsha misrepresented the situation when he agreed to the prenup, that she had let it be known that she was not going to be a cast member of Real Housewives of Atlanta anymore. So it was his belief that his wife would be a housewife, that she would have no financial means to basically maintain a lifestyle that she would be accustomed to. The judge ruled in Porsha's favor. She was awarded $40,000 a month alimony for 14 months. That was basically how long they've been married. But that award, even for, a 14, 15-month payment, that's over $500,000. That actually comes out to, let's see, $40,000 a month times 14. That comes out to $560,000. So she gets a little over $500,000. And she is given the marital home as well as the Rolls Royce. Now, perhaps the biggest thing that they were fighting over was the marital home, which is valued at $7 million. That marital asset was the property of Simon before the marriage. So even though Porsha gets 50% of the equity of that home, Simon gets the other equity. So the judge gave her basically until 2027, so about 2 years. Porsha has about 2 years to decide if she wants to stay in the home or sell it. If she sells the house, she needs to give 50% of the equity to Simon. If she decides to stay in the house, she must refinance the house, take over the mortgage payment, and she must still buy out Simon's percentage of the home, which is 50%. And until she decides whether she wants to move or to sell it, he's required to pay the mortgage, but she has basically a 2-year deadline to decide it. Okay, how do I feel about all of this? Well, Nigeria does have diplomatic relations with the United States, but this is not something that the government of Nigeria would care about, meaning that this is not something that Nigeria would actively pursue if Simon feels like he doesn't want to pay. This is not a criminal case. This is not something of international concern. This is a man that got deported back to Nigeria who's now fighting with his wife over divorce proceedings. So if Simon was to be in contempt of court, I mean, the man is not allowed to come back to the United States anyway. I don't see this as really having any effect on him if he decides, you know what? Because what could they do to him? And again, this is, even though Nigeria does have diplomatic relations with the United States, those diplomatic relationships, it's things of like national security and stuff like that. They're not going to care about a reality star on a Bravo network with, their personal finances and whatever else. So he does have an option to appeal the ruling. But my opinion is that, Simon's just going to be like, F you, and by doing that, what does he run the risk of? The only tangible risk that he will face if he just tells Porsha to go F herself is that he will lose any proceeds from the marital home. So he currently has 50% ownership of that home, equity and whatever. She's probably going to decide to sell the house and keep all of the proceeds. And her argument for that would just be like, well, he defaulted on the judgment. He defaulted on paying alimony to me, and I'm sure he's feeling a certain way. So they don't have any kids together. There's no whatever else. The only real risk that he faces is losing any financial gains from the selling of that marital home. But look, the man is not allowed to come back to the United States. So it's not like he could have lived in that home anyway. The Rolls Royce, it's not like he could have driven that Rolls Royce in the United States anyway. I don't know what opportunities he has in Nigeria, but I would assume that he has done well enough for himself in the U.S. that he could continue whatever it was that he was doing in the U.S. to make him money. He could probably continue that bullshit in Nigeria. So personally, my prediction for all of this is that Simon is going to default on the alimony payments. He's going to end up also defaulting on paying the mortgage, maintenance, and upkeep of the home. And she's basically going to sell the house. Well, if she's smart, she'll sell the house. Because here's the thing. Right now, that home is in pre-foreclosure, which means that a significant amount of money needs to be paid towards the loan or foreclosure proceedings will begin. So at this point, even though Porsha gets 50% ownership of the home, if she doesn't sell it, she's going to get zero ownership, because who's going to get the money? The bank is going to get the money. And she would be smart to start selling the house now, because if she waits, she's going to end up with zero. She's not going to get the alimony because Nigeria is not going to enforce this. This is bullshit to them. It has no international concern to them. There are criminal cases that they don't even care about. Why would they care about a civil divorce case in the U.S.? So the Nigerian government is not going to enforce anything if he defaults or if he's held in contempt of the court. So she's going to basically, I predict that she's not going to be getting her 1-year alimony. He's not going to be paying the mortgage and the maintenance of the home. The foreclosure proceedings, if she doesn't decide to sell soon, the bank will proceed with the foreclosure, and then she ends up with $0. And despite all of this, what she ends up making out with is basically just a Rolls Royce, just the car. He was also ordered to pay her legal fees. I mean, I don't see this man paying jack shit. And again, there's really nothing they could do. He's in Nigeria, so I am wondering how much money he actually keeps in American banks, or if he uses like overseas offshore accounts or whatever. But one thing that she can't do is, if he does have any U.S. banks, if he does have any money in any U.S. bank, one thing that she can do is that she can put a lien against any banking accounts that he has in the U.S. So she can get some money if that is the case, but again, I don't know if this man has like, maybe a few $1,000s in like a U.S. banking system, and the majority of his money is probably like in an offshore account somewhere, and etc. So we'll see. What do you guys predict? Do you think he'll actually honor this judgment? I don't see him honoring it. I see him as like, you know what? Let me know, guys.